Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What is cracking, Lock Shoppers? Hope you had a great weekend. Welcome to the program. Huss and P. Gregoire with you today as Dusty continues his time away doing the WHL Championship, although I'm sure there's lots to talk about in Edmonton right now coming out of that game. We're going to get to all of that. Busy weekend in the playoffs. It is PGA Championship week. We'll be all over that. Shout out to everybody that's listening on the Edmonton Sports Talk stream and everyone that's already fired up and with us in the YouTube chat. There's Joelle Lavoie. She's first. Hi, Huss. Hi, Joelle. Great to see you. Duck Dad right in there. Mark and Fanasuk. And hey, my guy Zulu. Zulu, how about them Nuggets? We are so back. The panic button is no longer being pressed. The Nuggets have tied the series up. It's a best of three. We are back in business, my friend. We've got lots to get to, though, because quite an eventful weekend in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Pat Gregoire of Coolbet joins us now. P. Greggy, what's up? How was your weekend?
Weekend was great, buddy. No NLL action, so I got a lot of couch time. I didn't have to call a game, so I was all in on the NBA, the NHL, the Wells Fargo, which was awesome. We didn't cash any of our outright bets, but a couple of top 10 finishes ended up coming through for us. But I think the big story's got to be Vancouver taking a 2-1 lead, but more importantly, the play, the cross-check. Heard around the world, Connor McDavid taking a pretty hard lick at the end of the game. And we were talking a little bit to you two, Trev, before this goes. The timing of it as well. There's no time for retribution. It kind of just happens. Game's over. Really unique circumstance. Like, when was the last time we really even saw like a superstar like Connor McDavid take a lick like that? It seems like it's been quite some time.
You know, it is a great question. I mean, there has been, you know, kind of stuff that's happened to top guys, but I mean, let's face it, this was a straight up cross check to the face and made far worse by a blindside cross check from behind.
Yeah.
From a 6'6" defenseman. Now, listen, if Zadorov doesn't hit him, is that cross check does it look as vicious or as damaging? Definitely not. Does it matter? No. I don't think so. I mean, at the end of the day, it is what's taken place. I mean, there's something to be said that Zadorov should also be in the mix for this, because he was certainly a part of that. But it's going to be Susie. And listen, Susie's in a bad spot because, number one, he's more of a depth player on Vancouver. I think that they will, in a situation like this, they'll have more time for making an example and having a harsher punishment to a player that they might not miss as much. And then exponentially making it worse is the fact that it was a guy wearing number 97 that took it, as opposed to literally almost anybody else.
No doubt. But I just quickly, player safety sending out a tweet at 11:23 Eastern that Nikita Zadorov been fined $5,000, the maximum allowable under the CBA, for cross-checking Edmonton's Connor McDavid. That's probably the best $5,000 Nikita Zadorov has ever made in his life. The fact that that is the max fine still in the year of our Lord 2024 is insane. That he is taking $5,000 to the bank for getting a lick in on Connor McDavid from behind. I totally agree. I think that you can't really take the intent out of it, of the initial cross check from Susie, because at the end of the day, he still was trying to cross check McDavid. You do, I guess, have to take in account that McDavid did do his best Sammy Sosa impression with the slash beforehand on the leg. But with that being said, it's still a cross check. It's still a cross check to the face. And I don't care if it's 97 or any other player. That's this player safety wants to talk about protecting players. We know they want to protect superstars as well. So I think we see some sort of retribution from the league for Sutsy here. And to be quite honest, does you're right. Like, does it really make that much of a difference in the lineup? Not really, but this could potentially be like a rallying cry for Edmonton
If
for a
it's
team
not,
like
there's
yeah,
something wrong with the Edmonton Oilers. Like,
yeah.
listen, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because this happened at the end of the game. I mean, if anyone goes and tries and does something at that point, you're talking about lengthy suspensions because the game is essentially over. And to be honest, that happened. Like, I don't know that the Oilers on the bench, I mean, it was the final minute. Most of them probably didn't even see it. Like, I think if they had any idea what had happened, there would have been more action there at the end of the game. But listen, regardless of what happens to Susie, I mean, he's going to get 1 game, 2 game, 3 games. The punishment is going to be somewhere in there. The retribution, if you will, or answering, I think has to come from the Edmonton Oilers. And listen, they're down 2-1 in this series, and we're going to get to how they got there in a minute. But you want to talk about making a statement where we're just going to go and try and win the game and just go 2-2 and let their players do whatever the hell they want. Like, that's not going to cut it. I guarantee you that's not going to cut it with Edmonton fans. And feel free to chime in the chat right now if you've got a take on this. But I think it's also, I mean, just for a team that feels like they have what it takes to go all the way and win the Stanley Cup, part of that is coming together and rallying behind, a top player and sometimes getting into uncomfortable situations. And let's face it, they have been uncomfortable throughout this series. Like, I don't want to come right out and say that the Canucks have been bullying them, but it sort of felt like that at times over the course of this series. And then that play at the end of game 3, Pat, was just a big fat exclamation mark on that point. I don't think it's going to sit well in that dressing room. And I would imagine we'll see the most piss and vinegar in that Oilers team at any point in this series, playoffs, and probably this season when they drop the puck in game number 4. And if they don't, that's not a good thing for Edmonton, and I think really bodes well for the Vancouver Canucks. The Canucks have to answer for this, and not just the Zadorov. And listen, I'm not going for Wild West justice here, but if a guy like Quinn Hughes and Paterson and some of those guys don't get a little bit more physicality like what Vancouver's been doing to Edmonton, I think they're going to have a tough time making things happen in this series.
I think being down 2-1, losing on home ice, has to be more than enough motivation. Now you add what happened at the end of the game. You add the fact that I totally agree. Vancouver, 1, has out-physicaled them, but 2, they've just annoyed the shit out of the superstars for this Oilers team. Like, I know Draisaitl hit about 40 posts last night, and I know he was really frustrated after the game, but even McDavid, 0 points last night. He had 4 shots on goal. It just seemed at like really big moments, Vancouver just did a really good job closing gaps, and not a lot of teams are able to do that against one of the world's best talents in Connor McDavid, taking away time and space. Even on the power play, it seemed like times that they were just fumbling the puck around, and it's not just because they look nervous out there. It's just Vancouver was even playing a really aggressive penalty kill, getting out, taking away the time and space from those skill players. Now, mind you, again, I've said this many times on this program before, goaltending is so damn important in the National Hockey League, and especially in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You flip the goaltenders here, this could be a completely different series. What we're seeing from Slovis, especially last game, finishing with 42 saves. I know in the loss, he didn't look all that great, but for the folks in the chat, for the folks in Edmonton, we kind of been talking about this all year as people from the outside looking in. We thought that goaltending at some point might rear its ugly head with this Oilers team. And the fact that they're not quite getting the run support as what they're used to, which again, doesn't normally happen in playoff hockey. But the fact that, they're last night, they're greatly out shooting the Canucks. And it just seems like, well, anytime Edmonton either made a mistake or gave up a danger chance, it was ending up in the back of the net. And I don't want to put this all on the goaltending. That's an easy way out for this Oilers team, but a little bit better goaltending, and maybe we're looking at this series a little differently.
Well, I think that's totally fair. I will say, though, those shots last night were somewhat deceiving. And I mean, take it from a guy in Winnipeg that has watched the Jets at times look like world beaters. And then when they are getting worked by other teams, teams are more than happy for them to have the puck, and they can cycle all they want in the offensive zone, 3 feet from the boards, and they stay to the perimeter, and then they try and find a way to get it into the net and maybe get a prayer tip or something like that, and it goes the other way. Like, for all the puck control the Oilers had, and for all of the rubber that they put on Shilov's, the bottom line is I think the high danger chances in the game were 7-6.
Yeah,
so
I was just trying to pull that up, actually.
They did not have the quality that when you have that quality, when you have quality chances with players of the skill level of the Edmonton Oilers, they're going to go in. They just didn't get to that. And to be honest, that is part of the side effects of the physical nature of the way the Canucks have been roughing up the Oilers. Just looking into the chat here. And listen, Carson Agetic, I'm saying that this could very well be a Vancouver fan. But you're right. I mean, the missed call earlier on McDavid slashing Hughes's face was egregious. Now, I mean, that's not suspendable, but it absolutely should have been 4 minutes, which makes happen. And who was it that speared Höglander in the nuts? Was that McLeod? It was McLeod. I couldn't believe that didn't get a fine at all. I mean, guy is not looking at the bench. A guy skates by and just does the old wee right up. I mean, that was brutal. But listen, there's a lot of stuff happening on both sides and both fan bases, and anyone on either side of these playoff series is going to have a couple things that are going to be pissed off on the other side.
I think it was
Connor McDavid
Ryan
in the face at the end, Patty, is just on another level. It's taking this series to another level. But bringing it back to what you mentioned about goaltending. And hey, Oiler fans in the chat, if you're the tie-breaking vote on the starting goalie for Game 4, let us know who you're throwing in there. I would assume it's Skinner, but Pat, to your point, it's at a situation that it is bad enough that Jack Campbell was trending on Twitter on the weekend. I mean,
not good.
People are actually talking about Jack Campbell, who was exiled to the American Hockey League for the entire season, to think that he might be the guy that comes in and saves the season in the series. Listen, it would be an incredible story if it happened, but wow, if that happens, that speaks to the desperation and the lack of confidence that they have in Skinner. And Knobloch said as much afterwards. He didn't skirt the question. Yeah, we need a few more saves. They got to find a way to make that happen.
At the same time, and again, I know I opened Pandora's box by starting this conversation. It's not quite as bad as what it's like in Leafland here, but at the end of the day, Connor McDavid can't have a line of goose eggs on his stat line. I'm sorry, he can't, and you can't just blame puck luck with Leon Draisaitl. I know he had a goal. I know Hyman, was getting his nose dirty out in front. It looked like he got a goal on that Bouchard goal. Like, at the end of the day, some of these big time guys can't just say, well, like last night, Draisaitl saying like hitting posts is not good goaltending. They didn't get goalie. They just, couldn't convert on their chances. They didn't get luck.
Connor Hellebuck would laugh in Draisaitl's face at that. I mean, you put it on the shot, they force you to go there. Doesn't even
exactly
count on net.
Exactly. You're forcing them there, right? There's nowhere else to shoot. So I'm like, again, I know it. Everyone knows it. If you watch hockey, to win the Stanley Cup, you got to have better goaltending. But with that being said, yeah, sure, you need a little more from some of your top guys, and you can't just continue to just blame it on puck luck. Like you need a little more, and that's probably why next game, as long as Connor McDavid's fine, and it seems like he bounced up pretty quickly after that cross check. I'd probably be hammering a couple of Connor McDavid.
He needs to have the
next
FU
game.
game, an FU game
Yes.
to the Vancouver Canucks, to Zadorov, to Sosi, to the rest of the NHL.
Yes.
Because people think, I think we're saying, oh, well, this is what you do to Edmonton. You sort of beat them up. And I see some people that have said this in the chat. This is what Vegas did to them last year. And Vegas was very, very good at that and that style of play. And it seems like Rick Tocchet has ramped that up even more. Great, great comment in the YouTube chat from Big Maple. Game 4. Enters Sandman playing in the arena. Lights come back and suddenly goes dark again. Undertaker gong. Lights come on. And Jack Campbell is standing between the pipes.
Oh, that is amazing. That is so good.
Oh, man. It seems like there's a few votes for Pickard in here. Not necessarily votes for Skinner, but Fish Tank Skinner is learning, he claims. Hey, listen, there's a ton of pressure that comes on that job, but especially in a place like Edmonton with the team as loaded as the Oilers are. But I'm with a few people in chat. I mean, to me, the difference, is that they've had to go to sort of load up on the McDavid line, play 25, 30 minutes a night. And unfortunately, they're not getting a lot from the rest of their group. Whereas Vancouver, you see like that Dakota Joshua's everywhere. And then their top guys, like a guy like Brock Besser, is just making it happen when he's got the opportunities. So I'm
one thing I will say is Elias Pettersson playing in this series? Like he's been an absolute non-factor.
If and maybe this 1 or 03, it would be the full Marner watch.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Milk cartons.
Maybe this is a guy that had a point parlay ruined by a lack of a Pettersson point, thinking that maybe this would be the game that he'd wake up. And it just looks like he's just been absolutely irrelevant. You're right, though. 29 minutes for McDavid last night. 29 minutes for Draisaitl. 26 minutes from Hyman. You got to play your big dogs. But if you're going to ride your big dogs have to perform as well. It's too late in the season to be like, well, the bottom 6 just isn't producing. It's not there. Well, you kind of knew that was the case. You kind of knew this was a team that would have your top 6 carry you. It's a little too late. You can't add anyone to the bottom 6. It's just unfortunately not. But as much as I hammer it home about how much goaltending matters in the playoffs, look at all the previous Stanley Cup champions and look at the bottom 6 and the guys that kind of come out of nowhere playing on the third line or a fourth liner coming up with a really big goal. These teams that go on deep cup runs have guys on the bottom 6, even though they're only playing 6 to 8 minutes, 9 minutes sometimes, they still find a way, to be productive. Right now, it seems like the bottom 6 for the Edmonton Oilers are just going out there skating around until Leon and Connor are not tired anymore and they can go back over the boards. Maybe it's a coaching issue, but at the end of the day, I want Connor McDavid. I want Draisaitl. If I'm an Oilers fan, I want them playing as much as possible. But a combined 0 points between, 26 minutes of Hyman and 30 minutes of McDavid, that's just unacceptable. Just can't happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of soul searching, I think, in that Edmonton room right now. I would start Evander Kane first shift, let Evander go in, mix it up, drop him. Evander can fight. There's no doubt about that. Answer it right off the bat. Try and give your top players a little bit of space and hope that both the the referees will call this a little tighter, because they have let a lot of stuff go early on that I think has been pissing the Oilers off. And then allow them to kind of get into their groove and not be playing from behind like they have in a couple games so far. Just quickly, let's get to these games tonight, and we're going to get to the exclusives. Man, a ton of exclusive this week. I'm putting together a ride with Hustler tonight. I'll tell you about within a minute. Patty's got one as well. But shout out to whoever was setting them up yesterday, probably Jake. The shots prop came through big time.
That was
plus
me.
3. Thank you, Pat. I rode with it, came through. And actually everything was good yesterday. The Nuggets win. The Knicks get absolutely throttled by the Pacers, and we'll touch on that for a minute in a second. And then I did have a 2-gamer. I had a feeling the Canucks were going to win that game yesterday. Because as I said all along, I know a lot of people thought, I still think Edmonton is the better team and can win this series and probably should. But you will recall before the series started, it was insane how everyone was writing Vancouver off. And to be honest, I've been more impressed with just the buy-in that they're getting from Rick Tocchet. I mean, he's been able, Patty, to instill a level of intensity of his team every single shift that makes it feel like it's the third period of Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. And I can tell you in the Winnipeg, Colorado series, I mean, that if you want to, it's very difficult to measure that, but you can just see the level of buy-in, the attention to the coaching, all of that. It was a mismatch, and that's why the Jets were dispatched as quickly as they were, not to mention Colorado's an unbelievable team that was playing at a very high level. But there is a gap right now between these two teams about from that just intensity level and how bought in they are. And so much of it's on the shoulders of McDavid and his crew. The other guys need to step up in a number of ways. And I'll tell you what, that first period of Game 4 tomorrow night is going to be must-see TV. In fact, the entire game should be. Don Sweeney, speaking of anger at officials, Don Sweeney's having a press conference today. You don't often see general managers have their own press conferences in the middle of the series. I'm sure he'll have his checkbook ready. I would assume that he's going to be tearing them off. That goal that was allowed after the challenge, I couldn't believe that they allowed it. I mean, cross-checked a guy right into the goalie, and of all people, it's Sam Bennett, the one who punched Brad Marchand in the head very, very discreetly, I will say, and knocked him out for the game. I don't feel very sorry for the Bruins. It just kind of feels like they're getting a taste of their own medicine. But much like the physicality and what Vancouver is trying to do to Edmonton, Florida is doing to Boston right now, and they're one game away from moving on to play the winner of the Rangers and the Canes.
First off, hilarious that I don't know how it came across my feed, but Bruins Twitter, some people were speculating that there was going to be a coaching firing mid-series, which would be absolute all-time stuff from Sweeney. But I don't know if actually the press conference happened yet. I know it was supposed to happen, but I think it was, also about, one, and it looks like it actually just must have happened not too long ago. A great quote here: put the officials in front of the microphone to answer the question, talking about the controversial Panthers goal in game number 4. That's one thing I've been, kind of harping on for a long time, whether it's on social or some of the other podcasts here, elsewhere. I would love for the officials to have to do media after games. It would be so great. I mean, players have to do it. Coaches have to do it. Why not have the officials have to do it as well, or at least come out with some sort of statement, whatever it may be. But yeah, I thought that was hilarious that folks actually thought Sweeney was gonna make a coaching change mid-series. I know it was also
so preposterous.
It's so preposterous, but that's so Bruins, and that's the reason why I really can't feel bad for them. I mean, it's the Bruins. It's so karma that Brad Marchand, and you never want somebody to get hurt. I'm not dancing on any graves here, but I mean, Brad Marchand's a guy that has been has been known to throw out little cheap shots himself and get away with a lot of things. Can't say I'm surprised. It's, rat on rat crime, right? It's two rats going toe to toe against each other. I mean, that Bruins team has no chance unless Marchand's back in the series. And I said it against Toronto, and I still do believe it. Like, I know they beat Toronto, and I mean, that's really not much of a feat at this point anyways. I really just don't think Boston's that good of a team. I really don't. I just don't. And I think Florida is a really, really good team. And I think there's just a talent gap. And the fact that Florida is a team that can play defensively, they're a team that can run and gun with you. They're also a team that can, out scumbag you. They can,
beat you in the alley.
Exactly. They can beat you all over the ice. And that's why I'm not surprised that they've taken a stranglehold on the series. I think the fact that, the Bruins came out with their hair on fire after a big Game 7 win. Florida was sitting on their asses for a long time, waiting for it, the old rest versus rust debate. I think that changed a lot of people's perspective of how this series is going to go. Because I think if you recall, going into Game 7, I think everyone, at least in Toronto, basically was saying, it doesn't matter who wins this game. Florida's going to wax them next series anyways. And I think we're seeing that come to fruition.
I kind of tend to agree with you on that. All right, tonight, we've got Game 5 between the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers. This one's back at MSG. Like, the Hurricanes were down 3-0, but every game in this series has been a one-goal game.
Crazy.
It has been incredibly tight. I think I'm going to play the numbers and the edge. I just feel like this is such a tight series. Canes finally had something go their way. I think the pendulum maybe swings back to them. And they'll be playing desperate. I mean, as we saw that they were, it's not much more desperate when we are one win away from losing. And I think they're going to test the Rangers a little bit more than maybe have been in the past. Although, again, this has been super close. This is a straight up pick 'em for tonight's game. And again,
that moved. This morning, I want to say it was like minus 115. So it was a slight, like the Hurricanes were a slight favorite.
Oh,
the Hurricanes were a slight favorite, but now it's moved directly to a pick 'em minus 108.
Well, now's a better time to get in on the Canes then. I mean, we know how much the book has liked the Canes from the start of the playoffs, from the start of the series. I mean, even when they were down 3-0, it was still only 7-1 to come back and win the games before. So I think they have been waiting for this to happen. Well, but all that considered, I still like this series to keep going. I think the Canes can get this back to Carolina, and I'm going to take the Canes tonight. And then in the late game, listen, we didn't spend a lot of time talking about Dallas, but what a performance they had in game number 3, stealing home ice back from the Stars. Although I'm not sure how much home ice really matters in this series. We're going to see. I mean, the Avalanche were the best regular season home ice team all year long. They can go down 2-1. This had 6 or probably 7 written all over it from the start. I would be surprised if we don't go back to Dallas tied 2-2. So I like the Avs at minus 134 and the Hurricanes at minus 108.
Yeah, hard to argue that. I totally agree. Looking at like where the numbers headed right now, the Rangers 89% at Coolbet right now. The turnover, so the handle, the money is on the Rangers. There's also a pretty significant amount of number on the Rangers ticket number as well. So we're seeing public money come across them. Hence why we're now seeing it at Pick'em. And I imagine that trend probably continues. So if you're on the Hurricanes, which I tend to agree, I think the Rangers ultimately do win this series. I'm a firm believer that I think the Hurricanes are a little bit overrated by the book, a little bit overrated by the analytics community, and goaltending certainly I give the edge to the Rangers. But the Hurricanes are too good of a team, too well coached, and to be quite frank, just I don't see them going out this early. I really don't. I think this is like a backs against the wall type of situation for the Canes. So I'm going to take the Canes here as well. And I'm going to go with the Avs as well. I picked this one to go to 7. I have a future ticket on the Stars to win the cup. I think it's at like plus 800. I got it a little bit before the playoffs started, so obviously I want to see them win. But Colorado, again, too good of a team. Kind of get into maybe some of my player props in a little bit, but McKinnon, we talk about the FU game that we're hoping to see from Connor McDavid. I don't think you hope or, are wanting to see that from McKinnon. The type of player that he is, every game is almost an FU game, but I think this is a game where he comes out and takes over, pots a few points, and it's like you remember that game as like that was the game that McDavid, really put the team on his back, McKinnon put the team on his back and put up a really big performance.
Hey, listen, before we get to these daily exclusives, and I've actually got a multi-sporter for you in the Lock Shop
Love that.
partner parlay. Let's get over to the NBA. As I mentioned right off the bat, Nuggets are back. They were after, and I see some people that are already in there in chat, Zulu and a couple of the other guys that jumped on with us, or still believed in the Nuggets, plus 445 to win the series when they went to Minneapolis down 0-2. They're now minus 167 favorites in this series. The T-Wolves plus 135. We've got 2-2 series between the Knicks and the Pacers and the Nuggets and the T-Wolves. We got there in very different fashions. One series, the home teams won all the games. The other series, the road team has won all the games. But I'll tell you what, Patty, it's shaping up to be a really, really interesting rest of the way for those two series. And as far as tonight goes, I think one game, in the Boston-Cleveland, it seems like Boston sort of lets up in game 2 and then just steamrolls teams. They're 9.5 point road favorites in this game tonight and a minus 357 money line. Basically is a stay away for me. But the game that I'm really interested in is this incredibly important game 4 between the OKC Thunder and the Dallas Mavericks in Big D.
Yeah, that first game, it's a stay away. Sure, I'll have it on. I'll be flipping it during the hockey game, but as a sports bettor and B, as a Canadian, all eyes should be on this Thunder Mavs game. It's not too often that we get, in the second round of the NBA playoffs, almost a near pick 'em, 1.5 spread. I really like OKC to take this game here at plus 105. Just looking at where the money's headed in this game, well more than 75% of the tickets are actually on the Mavericks, but the money is almost split 50-50. That means the sharp money's coming in on OKC, but that also means that that also could, a couple other factors here and there, some money line parlays, whatever it may be. But for me, OKC, and this is I don't want to say a legacy game because they're so young in the beginning of this faction, of this group, of this core. But this is where you could say, like, has this team arrived yet? Are they at this point? Maybe not quite championship, but you got to take steps. And this would be a huge step for this young group to have that bounce back game on the road. And as we're saying, that money moving just a little bit here, plus the line, Mavs now down to minus 125, plus 106 for OKC. So again, we're seeing more and more of these tickets now come on OKC. So for me, I'll take the Thunder. Would it surprise me if Luka and this Mavericks team come out on top at home and take a stranglehold on the series? Absolutely not. But part of me thinks that this OKC Thunder team is ready to take that next step, and maybe they don't win the series, but I think they put up a big fight here, and we see some Canadians put on a show.
The series price right now is Dallas minus 204 and OKC plus 163. Hey, listen, not to Barry Horowitz myself too much, but I have had a good read on this series. You recall, I thought that Dallas was going to win and split in OKC. And at the time I said that this is going to be a 2-2 series and Dallas is going to get a split and they'll give up a split. And I really think that this is an opportunity for OKC to come in. Dallas does not seem to perform particularly well when they've got it going for themselves. You know what I mean? They sometimes make it harder than it should be. And listen, so much is on Luka, and Kyrie Irving has been great. I've usually been a big critic of Kyrie. Nothing bad to say about what he's done so far. But again, this OKC team is legit. They were the number 1 seed for a reason. And I'm with you. I like the road dog tonight, and I think this is going to be a 2-2 series. And with the exception of the Cleveland-Boston series, which I think is probably going to be done in 5, it wouldn't surprise me if all 3 of the other round 2 series go the distance to 7 games, which brings us to the exclusives tonight, gang. And right off the top, we'll dive into the lock shop. The Patty Nose Puck is back. Arturi Lehkonen to get a point. Tyler Seguin, 3 shots. And Sebastian Aho to get a point. That one is boosted to 4-1. And then I promised a little multi-sport action. We've got it. Here you go. I'm putting my picks together. Canes money line, Avalanche money line, Oklahoma City Thunder money line. And we got a beautiful boost on this one. I think when I put it in, it was plus 593. Fellas have boosted it up to plus 675. So a good old school lock shop, 3-game money line parlay in both sports. Carolina, Colorado, OKC, plus 675. And you know what, Patty? The first thing I did, this is just perfect. We got a nice juicy parlay, and I always love doing that on Mondays because you know what's sitting there? That beautiful free bet from the UFC on the weekend. So we throw the 25 on that and see what it happens. Actually, 25 on that with the free bet would pay 193.75. So a pretty nice one. That UFC promo is great. Like, I'm not someone that normally, you know, especially on the fringe UFC fights, really gets into it. But knowing that, you know, it's a free $25 bet, I always throw down on one of the fights, and usually a couple. And then I didn't win last time. I kind of like, because I don't follow it enough, I try to seek out, like, okay, who's an underdog that a bunch of guys are picking, or just something closer to even money that, you know, you can get in. There's no point in laying it on a minus 190 favorite or whatever. But the bottom line is it's like a free miss because, you know, we're going to be back on Monday looking for something to throw down on. You got that free $25 bet. So
it's like in football when there's a flag on the play, and you know Aaron Rodgers is so good at it, just launch one up and see what happens, right? It's a free play. And if you were watching UFC this past weekend, it was a pretty good fight night card. Derek Lewis, anytime that guy's on a card, it's must-see TV. But in a couple weeks leading up to UFC, next pay-per-view 302, I think it's the first weekend of June. Massive card. So maybe if you want to dip your toes into UFC, use that free bet, get ready, because 302 that's like one of those cards every couple, you know, twice a year, the UFC will like really load up a card. This one here is probably one of the best ones we've had in a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, as I say, if you're a regular player like I am, even if you have no clue, I mean, it's literally a free bet. You put it in, you bet 25 on whatever the fight you want is. Win or lose, you'll get from that, and then you've got a free $25 bet to throw down on Monday. So one of the best promos they have weekly on Coolbet is that. Don't forget, we're back in Major Week. And, you know, we'll touch on that in just a second, because we don't have a ton of time. But let's get Coolbet exclusives for tonight. There is a ton of NHL daily exclusives, about 10 of them. We got plus 120 on overtime in either one of the games. I don't mind that at all. Just looking at the other ones. Ticket punching. This is a Rangers one. Zibanejad to get a point. Panarin an assist. And Rangers to win, plus 375. The old points from the point. Fox, Makar, and Heiskanen all to record a point. This is the one that I won last night. The shots. We've got Trocheck, Aho, Wyatt Johnson, all to record 3+ shots in the game. I may have to run on that just to keep riding with it because it's that done. Here's one for you Canes bettors, not done yet. Aho to score, Gensel to get a point, Jarvis to get a point, and the Canes to win is plus 500. All square. This is a Avalanche-focused one. McKinnon, 2 points. Makar, an assist. Nichushkin, a goal. And Colorado to win, plus 525. The assist promos, Gensel, Rantanen, and Robertson, all to get an assist, plus 575. And shooting stars, Seguin, Jason Robertson, both 3+ or more shots on goal. Jamie Benn, 2 or more. That is up to 625. And then we've got the daily exclusives for the multi-sport. I love these. Canadian national treasures. Nate McKinnon to score and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander to put up 30 or more. That's plus 270. The Don't Mess with Texas. Mavericks and Stars, both to win. I will not be on that one because I'm on the other side. If you like that one, plus 350. Block Party. Drew Holiday and Luka Doncic, both to record 1 or more block. And Cale Makar, 2 or more block shots. Ooh, that's it. We're really creating some good ones. So we'll be following the updates for credit and blocks tonight. And then 3, 2, 1. Jason Tatum, 3 3-pointers. Makar, 2 points. Kreider, 1 point. That one is plus 800. So some good stuff in the exclusives. All there for you. You know where it is. Block Shop at the top, the Ride with Huss, and the Patty's Nose Puck is where. And then everything else is in the Coolbet exclusives. Listen, just before we go, Pat, and again, we'll be back on Monday diving into all of our picks. Big show for the PGA Championship. Remind people about the Majors promo that is back online when we're getting in and making bets for the PGA Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you missed out on the Masters, don't worry. You could still get in to the mix here. Basically, for all our majors, so all 4, we've got the PGA Championship this week. You earn points for each bet that you make, including a various bets, outrights, head-to-head, whatever, 3 balls, group play, you name it. For the outrights, pretty simple. You get 10 points multiplied by the odds. So example, if you're betting a golfer, let's say he's 20 to 1 and they win, you earn 20 times 10 points. The higher the odds, the more points you obviously win as well. For like a head-to-head, a 3-ball, anything like that, so a little bit lower of odds, you'll earn 10 points multiplied the odds. So if you bet on a golfer, this is where you'd use the decibels. So that's what we use. So 1.9 odds, you'll score 19. So just move that decibel point 1 over. So just going through the leaderboard, because yes, we did have the Masters. There are some guys out there, but if you hit a really big long shot, you can get right back into this. No problem at all. So Rob 456 leading right now with 310. I think he actually only won 1 bet, to be quite honest, us. And that was Bryson DeChambeau to lead after the first round. I could be wrong. I know there's someone near the top that had that bet. So I think it was Rob. And I think he maybe only won 1 or 2. But there you goes to show, if you hit a long shot, you're sitting pretty. Ev the Great, 150. Kyle Kelly, 13. He has 118. And then if you look down, just in 6th, not too far off the pace, you got Hustle with 77. He's still on the hunt. And remember, top 3 get prizes. First place, $500 gift card to Golf Town, plus a custom Coolbet golf bag. And that golf bag will be filled with all sorts of Coolbet swag, golf shirt, hat, golf balls, you name it. It's going to be a great prize. Second place wins a Coolbet bonus plus the gift card. And then the third place will be a gift card as well. You can see the details when you go to that promotions tab. Click it there. You'll get all the details there. You can opt in there as well. Terms and conditions are in there as well, where you can see also the prizes that you can win as well.
You know, as I said, we'll review the odds as they go in. There has been a few changes. I just want to thank Shane Train for making a point of alerting people on Twitter when Pendy got into the PGA Championship that he dropped at 500 to 1. I immediately bet that. Our guy Pendy had another great week at the Wells Fargo, and his number is now to 150 to 1. Now, still, 150 to 1 is huge, but 500 to 1 would be the bomb of all bombs. As far as right now on Monday, here's the way the odds board is looking. Scotty Scheffler, the new dad. Oh, Scotty Scheffler with baby swag going into a major. I mean, should we even bother talking about everything else? We'll save that for Wednesday. He's at plus 450. Rory McIlroy, after destruction of the field on the weekend at Quail Hollow, plus 775, which ironically was the same number that he just won with last week.
Yep.
You got Xander, always the bridesmaid, 14 to 1. Brooks is 16 to 1. Ludwig Aberg, who was 16 last week, obviously he missed the last event with the back. We'll wait for an update on his status. He and John Rahm are 20 to 1. And then a big jump to Bryson at 28. Morikawa, 33. Max Homa and Joachim Neiman at 35. And the 40s include Cantlay, Wyndham Clark, Tommy Fleetwood, Vic Hovland, Cam Smith, JT Cameron Young at 45, and Hideki at 50. That's everybody under 50. It's a huge field. I believe everyone is listed. You want to take a couple crazy long shots? I mean, you've got some 1,000 to 1 players. In fact, a whole bunch of them. I don't know if a club crow. Where's your favorite player, Michael Block? Oh, here he is. He's at 100,000 to 1. You can throw down on Blocky at the PGA Championship. But we've got 2 days to lock in these, and it'll be interesting to see. I kind of wanted to go over that just so we can see how the board might be a little bit different come Wednesday when we have to make the picks. But again, if you're making PGA Tour picks in the meantime, make sure to just enter in the majors contest and get credit for these bets. And we'll see what happens and where we're at after the second majors. Should be good. Patty, have a good couple days getting ready for the big Wednesday show. I am very much looking forward to that. We'll have to lean on Dusty. He can send us in a few of his picks. We'll make a couple parlays. But in the meantime, we study the course, we study the field, and we get ready to make final selections. And of course, we got it all going on tonight. 2 in the NBA, 2 in the National Hockey League, tons in the Coolbet exclusives. So get on over in that. And hey, I had a great Sunday. Let's hope we can make it a great Monday and have a fun day. We'll get Jake in tomorrow on the Lock Shop. Lots more on this. And then Patty's back on Wednesday for our second of 4 major shows. Some of the biggest Lock Shop shows of the year. So anyways, Patty, great stuff as always. Thanks for jumping on. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We'll get into game 4 tomorrow between the Oilers and Canucks and make some picks on that. I do think we're going to get another 2-2 series, much like we have in the hoops tonight. And enjoy the games, everyone. Thanks for hanging with us in the Lock Shop. We'll head it back to ESTHQ, and we'll see you tomorrow, 11 a.m. Edmonton, 12 in Winnipeg, 1 o'clock out east for a Tuesday edition of the Lock Shop. Have a great one.
And that was Huss and P. Gregoire with the Lock Shop. Matt Wannick with you here on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tune in iHeartRadio. Quickly, we got to qualify someone for the VIP table to the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival. It's taking place July 12th through the 14th. Kingsman, GreatOutdoorsComedyFestival.com for more information on the Friday. Andrew Schultz, Shane Gillis. Saturday, it's headlined by Kevin Hart. And Sunday, Bert Kreischer and Whitney Cummings. The Friday show, which is the one we're qualifying for that VIP table for 4, completely sold out. There are no tickets at all. There are no tickets VIP. There are no tickets general admission. The only way to get in right now is through Edmonton Sports Talk as we're qualifying people for this VIP table. To get into this draw, what could we go with? What's a word we can go with on the Lock Shop here? Your mic's not even on, Trev, I don't think. Trev's just muttering words in the background, and none of them make sense for the lock shop or anything. I don't know why you're going with like munchies and things like that. Is your mic on? I don't want to talk. Well, why are you going with munchies?
Well, because it's we had laughing. We have laughing and all these other words and whatnot because it's comedy related. So I was just munchies.
Oh, do you want to know something? I like munchies. Tommy's around too, as we've got the Oilers stream coming up here.
Munchies.
People want munchies. 780-218-9999. Paris Jewelers inbox. You'll go into a draw to qualify for this VIP table to the sold-out show Friday, July 12th. Andrew Schultz, Shane Gillis, Kingsman Park for the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival, which the Alley Cat is the official beer of the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival here in Edmonton, which will feature the 6 o'clocker lager. So text that right now. Another chance to qualify coming up during the oil stream with myself and Tom Gazzola. If you're looking for tickets for the Saturday or the Sunday, greatoutdoorscomedyfestival.com. Limited quantities for both those 2 days. We will have some VIP tables for the Saturday and Sunday to come in the coming weeks that we'll qualify people for. But right now, the rest of this week and next week, we're qualifying for that Friday. So munchies that Trev wants. 780-218-9999. Now Trev's just laughing about it because he thinks it's the funniest thing ever. Maybe there was something that happened with Trevor earlier today that makes him want munchies and is making him laugh. We'll just throw that out there. That was it. That will wrap up the lock shop for today. I'd like to thank Huss and Pete Gregoire for locking down the lock shop for us. Coming up next year on Edmonton Sports Talk, it is the Oil Stream. Myself, Matt Iwanek with Tom Gazzola will get you set for Game 4 tomorrow between Oilers and Canucks and recap the great Game 3 loss. So stay tuned for that. Coming up in mere minutes right here on Edmonton Sports Talk.